Hello and welcome to the week ahead. We continue to grind higher here on the Qs. I'm going to make today's really quick. I don't actually have a ton of stuff I want to talk about today other than we continue to grind higher. I think that I said last week that I thought we were a bit extended, and now we're even more extended to the upside. But you can't discount the fact that we had this nice range we traded in for a number of weeks, and we broke out of it. And people were like, "What was there news?" I guess earnings helped to push this thing up, but overall, it was just price action, in my opinion. And so now, this coming week, we're going to be looking at this to see what happens when we backtest these highs from this whole area of consolidation. And it's the same sort of look on SPY, right? So there's that box of consolidation. We broke out above it, and now we're balancing above. I will say that if you look at the 30-minute time frame here, on SPY we broke the lows just ever so slightly of Thursday on Friday, but on QQQ we did not. We actually held it a little bit higher. So big tech showing a bit of relative strength, which is not surprising to me, considering that I feel like a lot of this move was on the back of big tech taking over after we had the tops sort of in for rare earth metals, for gold and silver, for quantum, for uranium and stuff like that. And so, to me, this week is kind of a big week. We get to see now. We had this consolidation for weeks. We had this nice big move up, and now as the moving averages try to catch up, we've got the weekly EMA 12 down here. We've got the daily EMA 12, this blue line here, and I've got hourly oversold marked on here as well. So this week we get to see what happens when price meets up with hourly oversold and daily EMA 12. Does it hold there? Do we get a little bit of higher low and then a continuation up? Do we stay in this balance, right? Because that's the one thing that I'm hoping happens, and that we continue to have a really healthy market and stay strong. If that's not going to happen, I wouldn't want to see straight up from here, and then because it just feels unsustainable to me. I'm not saying it is unsustainable. I'm just saying it feels that way to me. I would prefer a bit more consolidation because, I'm talking to you about this on QQQ, but if you look at something like Nvidia, for example, similar situation, had this really long. Let me go to the daily time frame. Nice long consolidation over this way, where I think a lot of people were even doubting that it was capable of continuing to the upside, and but it did, right? So here's the box I just drew for the other names was basically to here, and then we broke out above, sort of didn't quite hold it, came back in, tested weekly EMA 12 down here, and then hard rally out of there. And this is all pre-earnings, by the way. So now we're holding above 200, but as you look at this, like if you go back down to the 30 now, we didn't even come close to hourly oversold. Like we had a tiny pullback, was not extreme in the least, and then a rally, and now continuing sideways. So, I like to look at the Qs versus the names that I like to trade and see what's relatively strong, what's relatively weak. And to me, Nvidia is continuing to be relatively strong, and I don't want to buy up there. I want to see a dip. As a swing trader, I need a nice dip to get involved, and then continue up. So that's kind of what I'm looking to see. Does that happen this week? Or if it does happen, does it get down there, bounce, and then actually fail to hold and come back in for a weekly EMA 12 test? In which case, I'll be looking at 4-hour oversold to see, are we going to get a weekly back burner? So 4-hour oversold is down here. You can notice like hourly oversold and daily EMA 12, that's sort of my sweet spot for a daily higher low. 4-hour oversold, weekly EMA 12, that's my sweet spot for a weekly higher low. So on these nice uptrending stocks, as long as the higher highs and higher lows are continuing, those are the spots where I want to get involved. But I've got a back burner watch list of names that I'm interested in. I'm not going to go into each of them in detail. The ones that are like high on deck for me are AVGO. I want to see what happens with this one. Looking for that hourly oversold sweet spot. It sort of got there on Friday, didn't quite, and was doing a bounce. And you can see it was also trading in its own range here that I was watching. It's getting back into range now. I want to see it touch this daily EMA 12, possibly dip below and then rally back out. So I want to see. I don't even count this as a true hourly oversold yet. I would be more excited if it dropped lower next week. CRWD has had this nice huge move up out of its own consolidation over here, and I want to see the same thing. What happens when we get the hourly oversold? Nvidia I talked about. LRCX, another one, had this beautiful tightening range here, and then a dip on earnings, and then bought right back up and pushed up out of earnings. So I want to try to get that first dip there. Last but not least, I'll talk about Tesla. Tesla's in this giant range. Let me look at it on the daily to make it a little more clear. So Tesla's in this range over here. Get rid of these guys. And all-time highs are not far away. I feel like it's not going to get this close to all-time highs and the 500 test and not do it. And so I tried to get involved with this on Friday, and I failed to do so, which was kind of disappointing. But this could be the daily higher low. Like we have, this broader range, but we had a daily low, a daily slightly higher low, and this could be the next daily higher low for the push up and out. So I was looking for that to possibly be the case, and I tried to buy on the morning on Friday with a stop at the low of that morning, and then I ended up getting stopped out because that was a terrible place to put a stop. My stop should have been below this daily higher low. If it was, I would still be in, but c'est la vie. So, well, I'll show you what happened on the shorter term time frame. So in the morning, here was that yesterday high. So in the morning it broke out. I bought a little starter up here, and then it came all the way back in and stopped out my starter. And so I didn't try again, stupidly, when what I should have been thinking about was this was a beautiful 5-minute stair step down that still held the low of prior day when it broke. So I should have been risking here with a stop under there. Anyway, I digress. So I think that could have been it for Tesla. However, jumping out to the 30-minute again, what would be really sweet, because we had this giant range we were trading in, if you look at the bottom of the range, what's coming up from the bottom here, 4-hour oversold and weekly EMA 12. I would love it if early in the week, QQQ and SPY don't actually hold that 4-hour tightening range they're doing, and they actually drop. That would be fantastic. And if that happened, and if Tesla followed, Tesla would get a lot of people really scared coming down really low in here. 4-hour oversold would be drifting up, weekly EMA 12 drifting up, and we have this spot here at the bottom of the range where we could get a serious dip. That would be something I would be super interested in, buying at the bottom of this range for then the market to, get its footing again and then rally straight up and out of this thing. That's my like sweet trade I'm hoping for. But honestly, at this point, the daily higher low seems like the most likely scenario to me. Especially if the market if QQQ and SPY continue to hold that 4-hour tightening range they're doing and hold above the daily EMA 12, then I would expect this to, one day at a time, just go up and out of here and break the highs. So we'll see what happens. That's what I'm interested in, and that's what I'm thinking about for the week ahead. Overall, I will say, and this isn't me coming up with this is me parroting what I've heard Charting Man Dan from the Chart Guys say, which is, yes, this is a euphoria market. Yes, things continue to grind higher, but look how long that sort of stuff can happen, right? And there's no reason to think that this is going to top right now until the bears prove something. So what would that take? For me, it would take bears, for the first time in as long as I can remember, confirming a daily downtrend, setting a daily lower high, lower low, and then another lower high and another lower low. Show me that, and I will start to think about taking some money off in this market. Until that happens, and we're holding the daily EMA 12 or the weekly EMA 12 or even the monthly EMA 12, like a monthly EMA 12 dip would be wonderful. I'd be into that. But we just had one, so looking at this on the monthly time frame, like we had our serious dip in the early to middle part of this year, right? And so there's no reason to think we're going to do it again right now, especially going into the end of the year, when I think the most likely thing is that we get a Santa rally right through December, and then as the books reset at the beginning of next year, then we can start to think about possibly things coming in a bit. Until then, I'm just going to keep trying to ride these trends and see how price reacts when it gets to these back burner conditions that I'm interested in, of hourly oversold for the daily higher low at daily EMA 12, or 4-hour oversold for the weekly higher low at weekly EMA 12. That's kind of what I'm looking for in these names. I'm not just buying when it gets there. I want to see what price does. I want to see how it gets there, and make my trades that way. So that's it for me for the week ahead from here in beautiful sunny California. I hope you guys have a wonderful week trading. Good luck out there. Happy trading. Hey, if you like my indicators on TradingView and you like the content I'm producing here on this channel, please remember to like and subscribe.